Yeah, you've had such a great career. If I look back, you were regional sales manager in North America and Toronto of LG Electronics. Then you take on the role of regional director of LG Electronics in Dubai for another couple of years. But after all this growth in the corporate ladder inside the same company, you decide I'm gonna leave it all and start my own business. So how does one make a decision like that? Was it easy?
Never. Uh, I wouldn't say it was easy, no, not at all. But what I can say is it was something that has always been on my mind, and I'm sure it's all on on the mind of many, many people out there. And you just get to a point that it's now or never. So you're gonna do it or you're not. Uh, at a certain point, I decided that it is gonna happen, and that is a decision that I have to take. You take, the age-wise, the cash flow-wise, all the uncertainty of running your own business, the challenges of doing so. And it just one day you wake up and like, you know what? You got everything set up. You've been thinking about it for a long time, and then you decide that, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And here we are. Here I am.
Well, yeah, obviously it takes courage at any phase of your career to say, you know what, I will leave all the stability and I will start something from scratch. But I have to
Yeah.
ask you this. Do you feel like the experience you've gained after a decade of working in specifically LG, do you feel like this was critical for your success in the company you're building today? Or could you have done it right out of college?
Wow. No, definitely experience is like knowledge is very important and experience knowledge that's how it goes. It's definitely very important. It plays a crucial role in what I do, how I do it, and the network that you have, and the business that you choose to go with. And what's also most importantly is how to utilize this knowledge. You see, for every corporate you work with, like I worked for North American corporations, totally different culture than, for example, the companies in the Middle East that I've worked with. Total different culture from the Asian companies that I work with. So every company has its own culture, and that's obviously reflected through where the company is from. And so you get a lot of experience. The trick or the wisdom is how to utilize this experience and actual to benefit you in your business. So definitely that experience was key. It doesn't mean that I could have done it earlier. It just means that if I did it earlier, it would have been a totally different ball game. Not because I like the experience or the knowledge, but because I would have played with different set of rules than the ones that I do play with now.
Oh, talk to us about Petricor. What is it?
Good. So Petricor started to materialize, at least in my head, during the pandemic, the very sad period that we all lived through. Uh, Petrichor itself, let me introduce that. Petrichor actually has a meaning. Petrichor means the smell of the earth after a first rain. So after a long summer, dry summer, it rains the first time, and we all know that we're all familiar with that smell of the earth, the soil, after it rains for the first time. And that smell means that petrichor means that. So when I was thinking about it and the pandemic hits, and I was in the midst of it. So I was in the air conditioning industry. So all the talk during the pandemic, if you remember, it was about, does it go through the air conditioning system? Is it carried by air, aerosols, and all that? And I realized as much as we thought we know, it's not only we didn't know anything about the actual virus, we didn't really know much about how the dynamics of it, how does it go through, and the role of the air conditioning systems in helping or not with that virus. I was also on the board of the global product development team, and we were talking and designing, all different technologies to kill that virus, whether it's UV, whether it's self-sanitized air conditioning systems, so on and so forth, without getting into technicalities of it. And throughout that process, and my research, obviously, I got introduced to, well, an Italian manufacturer who manufacture sanitization equipment. Uh, as sophisticated as they are, they're just very basic, and they deal with water, which is the source of our life, if you want to put it that way. And I liked the idea. I dug a little bit more into it, and I found a really good technology. Uh, and it was a niche technology because coming, as I said, from that industry, there are all these conventional ways of sanitizing and cleaning the air conditioning system. And this was not it. It was not conventional. It's not intrusive as well, but it's simple. It uses water and steam. It doesn't use chemicals. It's energy and environmentally sustainable. And I thought that just fits perfectly in my mindset as a, sustainability advocate in every aspect. So with a little bit more talks, they were open to it, and we ended up partnering and bringing that technology to the Middle East and start to market it. Uh, when I start to solidify those things, I like, okay, so now I have a good product. It's a patented technology, so obviously the competition is being less than what it is. The main challenge is now, would it be competition on price? It'll be more like, how do I get it into the market and start changing the mindset of all the players? So instead of using their conventional ways or approaches, to switch into using this technology. So long story short, that's how it started. And I'm still doing the same thing 3 years later.
So I'm curious, how do you establish the relationship with your manufacturer? Do you just go there? Do you give him a call and you're like, hey, I love your product. Let's make a deal. Is it a long-term process? Do you like research them for 6 months? Because there's a lot of countries that or different entrepreneurs that might be looking at this and be like, you know what? If it's that easy, I can just look at different products in different regions in the world and just get it into my country. Is it that easy?
Well, it's- uh, yes and no. It's a case by case scenario. I can't answer for all manufacturers. Like, it depends how big the manufacturer is, if they have an already established network of dealers or channel partners, if it's a new technology, how well are they doing? Uh, how solid are you in giving them a good offer? Maybe they'd ask, for to carry a starting inventory or invest heavily in sales marketing. So there are tons of things that you need to put in place before you approach them. And it depends on the manufacturer. Some of them are open to start and support smaller players, like myself when I started. And some of them would be like when I was in my previous corporate career, obviously a company that big, I wouldn't be entertaining such requests from anyone. So we had a different uh, policy or system in approving dealers and channel partners. Uh, those guys had a different approach. So yeah, I approached them directly, and I started talking to their sales head, the international sales head back then, and we hit it off. And he saw a good potential uh, giving my background, and I saw a great potential giving their technology. And from there, we started to evolve and develop that relationship. So I talked to the CTO, CEO, and I went there and we met with those guys, and we pretty much inked it immediately. Like, we had a good handshake. And it just flourished from there.
What's next for Petricor? Because right now you're no longer this new business. You've been in the market for a couple of years. You love your product. You're a great salesperson. You've been doing quite well, but where do you want to take this? Where's this going next? What's the next big milestone for you? Here's how I'm gonna
Right.
phrase it.
So Petricor didn't start as a product reseller or distributor. So that was like step one. But our message is sustainability through IEQ, which is indoor environmental quality. And that is a huge domain, especially now with AI, with IoT, all the technology advancements and smart homes coming in. So if I want to summarize what's next, I believe it's integration of sustainable, we have the sustainable sanitization methodologies and products. Now, what we can add to it is the sustainable also control and monitoring for the indoor air quality, environmental quality, adding to it the lighting, to it the plantation, the different paints, all kind of indoor pollutants, which we can also help navigating and help cleaning the indoor properties from. So that would be our next step. And thirdly, which also something we're working on now for the medium term, which is incorporating AI. We're talking also to different manufacturers about it, how to incorporate AI into smart homes. So now I don't have to monitor control only, but we always have these AI pods around that would tell us where the biggest contamination is, how to get rid of it, and what's the period or the duration that we have to come in and do all these different sanitization methods. So the industry is huge. There is no limit to its growth. As long as there are people living in homes, we're striving, we're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays everyone's climate and health conscious. It's definitely something. It's the talk of the town in Canada. Maybe,
It's at the same everywhere actually, and that's the pandemic, as sad as it was, it kind of raised a lot of awareness about it. And simply, I would put it, nobody eats out of a dirty plate. You wash the plate before you put your food on it. But everybody breathes out, unfortunately, out of a dirty coil, out of a dirty air conditioning system. And air and oxygen is as important to us as food is to our bodies. So clean your plate, clean your coil. That's the way we put it. That's the best way we put it actually, as a sales pitch if you want. But that's
I
what I
just
say.
saw the regional sales manager and you pop out
Right?
again.
It has to. It has to.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I really
My
enjoyed this
pleasure.
conversation.
Likewise, it was talking to you, and thanks again for having me.